Hi all, good evening. So today's my topic is about company and its formation. Uh, in this topic we discuss about the company and exact definition of the company and its features. In which way we consider it as a company. That is our topic. So a company is one of the forms of business organization, so it's a voluntary association of persons and is formed for certain common purpose. So its capital is raised by selling shares, and the person holding such shares are known as the shareholders. So here few people will be coming voluntarily. They associate as an organization and they form a company. So that is also for a common purpose of such people who came voluntarily. So here the liability of shareholders is limited to the extent of shares they hold in that company. So this is a normal understanding of company, the word company. So what exactly the definition of the company? Company is an artificial person with a perpetual succession and a common seal. This is a type of definition. So exactly we have to consider a definition which is defined by the Companies Act 1956. Okay, so the government has defined the company in according to the Companies Act 1956, so that should be considered only as a company. So a company means, according to 1956 Companies Act, a company means company which formed and registered under the Companies Act 1956 is regarded as a is considered as a company. Other than remaining, all words are only the understanding, common understanding about the name company. But which organization will be considered as a company? If the organization is following the rules and regulations of the Companies Act 1956 and it is registered under Companies Act, then only it will be considered as a company. So this definition is also not revealing the outstanding features of a company. This 1956 Act also just defining the company, but it is not explaining, it is not revealing the exact outstanding features of a company. Like it is about the registration, whether the company is considered as an artificial person or a, is the company is having any fundamental rights or not, what that we will discuss in this topic further. So therefore we consider definition of a Lord Justice Linley and Honey, who states a company is an artificial person, a mere creation of law, and it gets every right to possess or to create assets, to incur liabilities, and to carry on the business activities according to the provisions of law. This was not defined by 1956 Companies Act, but this was defined by Lord Justice Linley. Okay, so according to him, this company is an artificial person, a mere creation of law, and it gets every right to possess or to create assets, to incur liabilities, and to carry on the business activities according to the provisions of law. Again, subject to condition here, according to provisions of law. The last line is mentioning. So a company can create a law, I mean a company can created by the law as per the norms of the law, and it has right to possess or to create assets or to incur even liabilities, and also it can carry the business activities according to the provisions of the law. That is what it means. And moving on to the features of the characteristics of a company, we have lot many features to discuss, but in this video I am discussing primarily about the key features. Okay, remaining all also key features, but I just want to discuss these few points because I don't want to give you the boring long hours. So that's the reason I'm just taking it as a part 1. So if you really need part 2, then I will prepare that part 2 video is even. So moving on to features or characteristics of a company, the first point should be discussed is registration. A company comes into existence only after registration under the Companies Act that we already discussed. So, however, a statutory corporation is formed and commences business as notified or stated in the Act and as passed in the legislature. So, in case of partnership, registration is not compulsory again. So we already discussed about the sole proprietorship and even the partnership companies also, right? So according to that categorization, in case of partnership companies, there is no need of registration. I mean, no need means it is not compulsory here, okay? And then legal personality and few things we have to upgrade by the norms of the current rules and regulations whatever we are discussing, which was at the time of publication, right? So as per today's date, what is the real law, we have to understand. This will be useful for the startup companies. So if you are studying a book which got published in 2000 or 2010 or 2020, it will not be useful and sometimes it is also harmful. So that is the reason we have to upgrade and we have to take the current rules and regulations. So but I am taking a book which was published in 2020, so kindly understand if there is any deviation from the current rules and regulations. So subject to condition and subject to correction, sorry. Okay, so in case of partnership, registration is not compulsory. And then legal personality, a company is regarded by law as a single person here. The company is a artificial person that we all know. So at the same time, a company is regarded by law as a single person. So it bifurcates, it differentiates the company proprietor even from the company or from the shareholder even. So it has a legal personality. This rule applies even in the case of one man company, as I said in sole proprietorship also. Okay, and then statutory obligations. A company is required to comply with various statutory obligations regarding management. We all know that, like for example, for instance, we can consider as filing balance sheet, maintaining proper account books and registers. Okay, bookkeeping also sometimes if they want to consider that, even that should be maintained under the management. And a company should have a registered office. So a company must have a registered office. Here the company should register with its name in as per the Companies Law Act, okay, in the register office again. So in that register office, they have to register with their name and address and with contact numbers. And nowadays, whatever the email credentials and whatever the second mobile number or the landline numbers, if necessary, and even few with a few other details like proprietor, who is the proprietor of that company. So all these details must be recorded in that register office. And then company should have a common seal. So a company must have a common seal, this is mandatory. And then voluntary association, we all know that a company is an association of many persons on a voluntary basis. Nobody is compelling you to establish a company or to come under the partnership, right? So it is a completely voluntary association of few people to establish a company with their own capital or by borrowing some loan from the banks or from others. So therefore a company is formed by the choice and consent of the members. They themselves are taking the own decision. Nobody is compelling them to establish or to form a company there. And then management, a company is managed by the board of directors, whole time directors, or managing directors, or managers simply. So these persons are selected in the manner provided by the act. A shareholder as such cannot participate in the management again. So, while moving on to another feature here, a company is having a permanent existence. Okay, the company has perpetual succession even. So, if the sole proprietor is getting retired, or if he died in case of his death, the next successor will be leading that company, or it can be his wife, or it can be her husband, or it can be their children. Usually children will be taking over the company as a successors, right? So in case of death or insolvency of a shareholder does not affect its existence. So a company comes to an end only when it's liquidated according to provisions of the Company Act. So even after the death of the shareholder, or even after the insolvency of a shareholder also, the company may exist. There is a chance, okay, and it can exist. It is a permanent existence even, to be frank. But when it can be completely liquidated, a company comes to an end only when it's liquidated according to provisions of the Companies Act. So there will be few provisions in the Companies Act. If it meets such type of rules, then definitely a company can be liquidated. And so here they are mentioning, in case of insolvency also the company can run. That's what they are saying here. So even company has a limited liability. So the liabilities of a shareholder of a company are usually limited. The creditors of a company are not creditors of individual shareholders, and a decree obtained against a company cannot be executed against any shareholder. It can only be executed against the assets of the company. So here if you have a company, and you this company is having say around seven partners, okay, sorry, seven shareholders, or 3 to 4 shareholders if your company is having, and then you all will be having limited liability. So you all will be treated as a separate members from the company. So whatever the loss is occurring in the company, that company assets will be uh, affecting, but not you people, not you 3 or 4 partners, shareholders are not getting affected. That is called limited liability. So this limited liability we can see generally in the names of the company, like Procter and Gamble Limited, okay, or some other XYZ Limited, or some ABC, some any 1 2 3 Limited likewise. So if you are not mentioning that, then automatically the company will be treated as a unlimited. So unlimited means if a company is facing any loss, then all the partners of that company, all the shareholders of the company's uh, personal assets also will be considered at the time of that loss. So they will be selling the company's assets as well as these shareholders assets, and then this will be distributed among the creditors, whoever given capital, or whoever supplied goods and services, whatever it may be. So they will be fulfilling that deficit budget, or they will be fulfilling that loss by selling the company's assets as well as the shareholders personal assets. It can be whatever is on their name, okay. So that is the reason most of the companies will be opting to put that limited at the end of their company name. So that name itself is saying that this company is having a limited liability. So based upon that only their creditors are going to borrow money, or lend money, or to supply goods and services, or whatever may be the transaction, they will be doing according to that limited basis only. So that is the reason they have to mention in that name. And what in case, we all will be getting few doubts, right? What in case if the company's registered name will be different, and the company name whichever they are mentioning on that board at the office place will be different? What in such case? Please do comment. Okay, I just want to know from you all. So in such case, how they will be deciding, right? How will be knowing whether the company is limited or unlimited, and what are the consequences if we are not knowing about that? So if you have any clue, please share with all of us. Okay, and then moving on to next topic. uh, did company has fundamental rights? Because we are treating as a company as a artificial person, and it has limited liability, right? So here we need to understand that no, the company, even though it is an artificial person, it doesn't have a fundamental right. It has a domicile again. The company can have its own house, right? Because they can be useful, they can use, the shareholders can use to deduct the tax, to have a tax exemption. For such that reason, they can maintain a house upon the name of the company, right? But they cannot have a, they can treat it as an artificial person, but they cannot give fundamental rights to a company. So it is an artificial person, though it is not a natural person. Still the company has no fundamental rights. So we need to understand, company is not a citizen, although it may have a domicile. As I said, it can have a house, own house even, like we are having own house and rented house, right? So the company can also have own house, and it can get the tax exemption from the profits even. That will be okay as per the law, but it will not be considered for the fundamental rights like we are having, right, as a citizen of India. That's what here I'm explaining. And then capacity to sue. So a company can sue and also be sued in the corporate name, as any natural person can. Okay, so as company is an artificial person, it can sue someone, and someone also can sue the company again. And again, their shareholders will not be liable for this again. They can act for the sake of company, on behalf of the company, but they will not be considered for the punishments and penalties again. So then who will be paying? So whatever is the profit ratio is allocated on the name of the company, that will be affected, or the assets of the company will be affected if someone is suing the company. So the shareholders will not be getting affected here again. I mean their assets, their reputation, and their goodwill also will be there, right? So it will not be affected. So you all know about the goodwill of the company, right? So please do comment even that one. And then separate name. So every company must have a specific name which must be registered. So it must be painted or affixed on the outside of office or place of a business. This one also we discussed again. So it can be a painted name on the wall, just a painting on the wall, or any name board especially prepared on the name of the company should be affixed at the place of the office, that too in big letters. Okay, I'm not saying block letters only, or some specific color even, but they have to write the company name in big letters. As I mentioned, few people will be having some name on the at the time of registration, and they will be doing all the transactions with that registered name. But for name sake, for fancy sake purpose, or to attract the people, or to give some to cope up with the current modern situations, they just want to opt for some fancy name or some funny names or some type of attractive names. So that also they can maintain. But there must be some type of rules and regulations they have to follow. Okay, so this must be understood. But whatever it may be, they must follow to affix a company name at the office place. So that's all for today. Thanks a lot. I think my topics are useful for the startup companies and the students or the people or the housewives or the retired people, whoever are establishing or planning to establishing new companies, or want to choose their own business sectors. It will be useful for you. So, but subject to correction, I just want to mention again and again, you have to take information about the current rules and regulations. So based upon few old books, we cannot completely rely, but this is the primary information whatever I am providing you. Okay, but this is the primary subject you have to acquire before establishing a company. But few rules and regulations we have to go into depth, and we have to consult a lawyer or an advocate, whoever are I mean we can consult few people like any chartered accountant even. Okay, so any ICWA people, whoever it may be, so they can be clarifying you with a few more details.